Hello guys, Babylon in 600 AD, the ghost of a forgotten empire. In 600 AD, Babylon was no longer the golden capital of Nebuchadnezzar II. The legendary city of the Hanging Gardens, the Ishtar Gate, and ancient wonders had faded into silence. Under the rule of the Sasanian Empire, Babylon had transformed from the heart of civilization into haunting ruins. What happened to one of the greatest cities in human history? Why did it fall? And what remained of Babylon 1,200 years after its peak? We explored the forgotten story of Babylon in 600 AD, a city that once ruled the world, now reduced to echoes in the dust. Imagine standing in the ruins of the most powerful city on earth. No crowds, no armies, no towering blue gates, just wind moving through broken bricks. In 600 AD, Babylon, once the center of the world, had become little more than a memory. How did the city of the Hanging Gardens fall into silence? Let's travel back to the ghost of an empire, the shadow of greatness. By 600 AD, Babylon was no longer the jewel of Mesopotamia. More than 1,000 years earlier, it had been the beating heart of power, culture, and architecture under King Nebuchadnezzar II. But empires do not last forever. When we arrive in the year 600 AD, Babylon is not a thriving metropolis. It is a shadow, a memory buried beneath centuries of conquest, the rise and fall. Babylon's golden age was around 600 BC, not AD. It dominated trade routes, astronomy, engineering, and law. Then came 539 BC. Cyrus the Great of Persia conquered Babylon peacefully. The city survived, but it was no longer the center of power. Over the centuries, the Persians ruled, then Alexander the Great, then the Seleucids, then the Parthians, and finally, the Sasanian Empire. Each new ruler shifted the political center elsewhere, a new capital. Ctesiphon. By 600 AD, the region was under the Sasanian Empire. The true center of power was no longer Babylon. It was Ctesiphon, located nearby along the Tigris River. Ctesiphon was massive, wealthy, and politically vital. Babylon, it had become old stone and fading glory. Trade routes changed. Rivers shifted. Administrative focus moved, and slowly, Babylon emptied. What did Babylon look like in 600 AD? If you had visited Babylon in 600 AD, you would not see the bright Ishtar Gate in its full glory. You would see crumbling mud brick walls, partially buried foundations, scattered settlements among ancient ruins. Some local villagers may have lived nearby, but the city itself was no longer alive. It had become an archaeological site, long before archaeology even existed. Why did Babylon collapse? Several factors led to its decline. Political shifts, power moved to new capitals, economic changes, trade routes evolved, environmental issues, irrigation systems deteriorated, war and repeated invasions. Cities survived when they remained relevant. Babylon slowly lost that relevance, a symbol in religion and myth. Even though the physical city declined, Babylon lived on in religious texts. In Jewish and Christian traditions, Babylon became a symbol of corruption and decadence. In the Book of Revelation, Babylon represents moral decay. Ironically, while the real city was fading, its symbolic power was growing. The coming storm. Only a few decades after 600 AD, a major transformation would reshape the region. The Islamic conquests of the 7th century would bring a new political and cultural order to Mesopotamia. But Babylon was no longer important enough to resist or influence these changes. It had already become history, the ghost city. By 600 AD, Babylon was not destroyed in a dramatic final battle. It didn't fall in flames. It faded. It was replaced. It was forgotten. And that may be more haunting than destruction. Legacy of Babylon. Even in ruins, Babylon shaped the world. The concept of codified law, advances in astronomy, monumental architecture, urban planning, its legacy survived long after its walls collapsed. Final reflection. Babylon teaches us something powerful. The greatest cities in the world are temporary. Power shifts, capitals move, empires fall, and sometimes the most famous city on Earth becomes nothing more than wind across ancient stones. Thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more epic stories.